So I'm starting to consider using throwing books around as just a regular intro to this segment because people seem to like it. So, what's today's topic? We're going to talk about character development. One of my favorites personally. World building is another segment that will probably be coming along at some point, but that's likely going to be left to Jen because that's more her thing, whereas characters and relationships are more my thing. So, when we say character development, what are we really talking about? We're talking not just about what you see on the outside, so the character's appearance, their hair, their eyes, body shape, skin color, etc. We're talking about the character as a whole. So, what kind of emotions are they prone to? What's their personality like? Their quirks, their traits, their strengths, their weaknesses. And one of the best ways to really get to know a character when you're first creating them for a story is to do a bit of an interview with them. And there are multiple ways that you can do this. There are lots of questionnaires out there online. If you're struggling to come up with one of your own, there's tons and tons out there, and there are ones that are more focused on a character that would belong in a fantasy setting versus characters that belong in a contemporary setting versus sci-fi versus historical, all different kinds of questionnaires out there to help you go in, so no lack of resources whatsoever. But if you prefer, you can also make your own character questionnaire. Questions on it could be, very simple, like, okay, what's the character's first name, last name, middle name, whatever. What's the character's age, height, weight, what's their hair color, eye color, skin color, and then go into character traits. So what's their greatest strength, their greatest weakness, what motivates them, what emotions are they prone to, like are they depressed, are they happy-go-lucky, what kind of relationships do they have? So, and not just familial relationships, but what kind of friendships do they have? Do they have any enemies? Do they have any work relationships? Is that relevant for the story that you're writing? What are their political implications, if any? If this is a fantasy setting, do they have any magic? Is it something that comes to them naturally, or something that they were gifted, or something that they had to learn? So you get the point. There are many, many things to think about when you are first creating a character. Now, I will say that I am guilty of just kind of going off the cuff with some of my characters, and then kind of filling in the blanks later. So the story that I have spent by far the most time on, just a ridiculous amount of time on, those characters started out very different from where they are today. So the book has two primary characters, Mr. Raven and Sarah. And those two characters look nothing like they do today. As I said, they were in my head since, I want to say like 13, 14 years old is when I first had the idea for the story and for those characters. The story has also changed so much that you can't recognize it anymore from where it started. Not really uncommon for when you start a story at 13 years old. But what I did learn to do over the years, and as I became a more, what's the word I want to say here, a more skilled writer, a more confident writer, I started becoming more aware of the tools and resources out there, for writers like myself. And so those characters didn't just evolve because the story was evolving, but also because I started utilizing more of those resources, like the character questionnaires, and that can really help you flesh things out, especially if you are having a story that's going through a major evolution and you're not exactly sure that the characters you started with are the characters that you should end with. So I know, practice what you preach. I'm working on another story right now. It's a psych thriller. Primary character, his name is Eli, and he is, sorry, this book is written in first person. That's what I meant to say. I did use a character questionnaire for him right off the bat. For him and a few other characters in the book. And I think that did help me get started easier than the other one, and other ones I should say that I've worked on in the past. Just giving it that much thought and really doing kind of a deep dive into the character's personality, the character's traits, the character's history with other characters, characters' medical history, the characters' familial relationships, the characters' romantic relationships, all of those things that make the character who they are. So I highly recommend taking the time to do that. That's not to say that you can't get started on your story with just having some general ideas, but you're probably going to save yourself some work if you do it first. Also, that's not to say that you have to do it for every single character, because that would get really, really tiresome. So I recommend doing the character sheets, questionnaires, whatever you want to call them, just for your primary characters. You can do them for the secondary. If the secondary characters have a really big role to play, even though they're not like in the limelight a lot, maybe something they do pushes forward the story, or they're involved in a plot twist or something like that. So maybe you want to know a little bit more about those characters because of the impact they have on your primary characters, so that's okay. But I definitely wouldn't do it for the majority of the characters that show up in a work. Just imagine if George R.R. Martin did that for all of his characters. It would take even longer to work on those books. I'm not saying something. So that's what I got. Character development, character questionnaires, character sheets. There's a lot more that can be said on character development, but this was the part I wanted to focus on right now. If this information is helpful, then I can certainly talk about other aspects of character creation. But this is a really good place to start. So go on Google, search character sheet, character creation. There's so much out there, it's crazy. I'll link a couple ones that I personally like in the description. All right, that's it. Comments below. If you got any questions, shout it out. If you like it, give it a thumbs up. If you don't like it, give it a thumbs down. YouTube doesn't show it anyway, so till next time.